You guys have been asking about the HP Victus 16 like crazy. So I bought one and tested it in 13 different games and compared it against other laptops to find out how it stacks up. I've got the 8-core Ryzen 7 5800H with NVIDIA RTX 3060 configuration. It came with 16 gigs of memory and dual channel and a 16.1-inch 1080p 144Hz screen. Now the RTX 3060 graphics in the Victus can boost up to 95 watts with NVIDIA's dynamic boost. And even with the CPU loaded up at the same time, it was still running at 95 watts. So it's nice that the power limit wasn't dropping if the CPU was also active, but at the same time this is also below the 115 watt limit that the RTX 3060 is capable of. HP's Omen Gaming Hub software can be used to change performance modes. All testing here was done in the highest performance mode with fans set to max speed for best results. Unfortunately, the Victus does not have a MUX Switch, so it's not possible to disable the integrated graphics and bypass Optimus. But it is still possible to get a speed boost by attaching an external screen to either the Type-C port or HDMI port, and I'll test this out later. Despite the screen being 144Hz, unfortunately it's not amazing. We're looking at a slower 17 millisecond average gray-to-gray response time here, one of the slower results for a 144Hz panel that I've tested. And higher response time means a blurrier image in games. Now, I don't think I'm all that sensitive to lower response time screens. While playing games on this thing, at times I did think it was a little blurry, but at the same time it was also nowhere near as bad as compared to Dell's G15 with the 120Hz screen. But that one's an additional 5 milliseconds slower compared to this one. Low response time is always better, but it's going to come down to personal preference as to whether or not you notice it. And yeah, I don't think 17 milliseconds is excellent, but it's still definitely possible to have a good time playing games on this machine. Now it's also worth noting that I bought my Victus with a cheaper 250-nit screen. There's also a brighter 300-nit option for $40 extra, and as that's a different panel, it would have a different response time. Unfortunately, I can't say if or how much of an improvement that would be without testing it. The Victus is also on the slower side in terms of total system latency, which is the total amount of time measured between a mouse click and a gunshot fire in CSGO. The slower screen would contribute here, but really this is only going to matter in fast-paced esports games. Interestingly, the memory that shipped in my Victus 16 had X8 memory banks. Most gaming laptops that I've tested this year seem to have the slower X16 option, as it just sounds like those are more widely available to be purchased by companies in bulk. So I was pleasantly surprised to see the X8 sticks in the Victus, as this will give it a speed boost compared to other laptops. Now that said, I bought this model in Australia. I have no idea if this is the same memory that HP is using all around the world, so this might vary by region. Alright, so with all that in mind, let's find out how well HP's Victus 16 compares against other laptops in a few different games. Cyberpunk 2077 was tested the same on all laptops, and I've got the Victus highlighted in red. We've got two results here, the lower one with just the laptop screen, and another slightly higher result with an external screen connected. In GPU-heavy games like this at higher settings, the external screen makes less of a difference, but hey, it's still an improvement. The 95W 3060 in the Victus is sitting right where we'd expect, just below the 100W 3060 in the Omen 15 above it, and slightly higher than the Acer Nitro 5 with the 90 to 95W range. Red Dead Redemption 2 was tested with the game's benchmark, and the Victus was doing well. I was particularly surprised to see that even without the external screen, it was right in line with Lenovo's Legion 5, especially considering that one has the maximum power limit for the 3060 and a MUX Switch. The Legion was tested with Optimus off, so really it should be more comparable to the Victus with external screen result. I think the reason is the Legion 5 result is with its stock RAM, which had X16 memory banks. Performance can definitely be improved further by swapping it to X8 memory like the Victus has by default. Control was tested running through the same part of the game on all laptops, and this time the Victus wasn't quite as good as the Legion 5 or Dell G15, which were my best 3060 results. Both of those laptops are at the higher end of the power limit range for the 3060 though, and were tested with Optimus off, so that's expected, especially considering that this is a GPU-heavy test. In any case, the 3060 in the Victus wasn't too different compared to many other 3060 laptops that I've tested. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was tested with the game's benchmark, and the Victus could increase average FPS by 6% with the external screen here. So again, not a massive difference like we saw in the previous games, just a nice little extra. Again, it's extremely close to the other 3060 laptops covered, just 1 FPS behind the Lenovo Legion 5, though again the Legion could get a reasonable boost here if it also had X8 memory. The differences between the laptop screen and an external screen weren't that big here, and that's generally the case in more GPU-heavy games at higher setting levels. Generally, the external screen will make a much bigger difference in games that can hit high frame rates. Now, something else worth noting is that if you were to buy the Victus with a lower GPU option like the GTX 1650, RTX 3050, or RTX 3050 Ti, then of course expect much lower results compared to what I've shown in this video. The RTX 3060 is simply way better compared to all those options. And also with the cheapest GTX 1650 option, you of course don't get the option of ray tracing and DLSS. Granted, I don't think ray tracing on RTX 3050s is generally going to go too well, but DLSS on the other hand is actually a pretty useful feature in a lot of modern games now. Alright, now let's see how well HP's Victus 16 performs in even more games at all setting levels. Let's start with Call of Duty Warzone, which was tested with either all settings at max or minimum, as it doesn't have built-in presets like most other games. It was still playing fine at max settings, averaging above 100 FPS. Minimum settings was only boosting average frame rate by 14%, so might as well take the better looks. We compared control earlier, but now let's see how ray tracing and DLSS go. I've got the stock results shown by the purple bars. With ray tracing enabled in the green bars, we're not quite reaching 60 FPS at low settings. And personally, I think the game looks better with ray tracing off, but instead using high settings. Not to mention it performs much better too. This is where DLSS comes in, shown by the red bars. It's able to boost performance even with ray tracing on, though you could of course use DLSS without RT for FPS higher than the purple bars if you want. Cyberpunk was also compared earlier, but I've got the RT plus DLSS enabled modes here at the top now too. Honestly, they weren't going super well, but I test with DLSS on quality mode, so you could further boost FPS with some other changes. Or again, use DLSS without ray tracing. Otherwise, only the high preset was only able to offer above 60 FPS. Microsoft Flight Simulator runs much better after its recent update, reaching above 100 FPS with the lowest setting preset. High settings was just above 60 FPS, so not too bad at all for this resource-heavy game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was around 60 FPS at very high settings, which honestly I think is fine. I don't think many AAA games need super high FPS to enjoy, though higher FPS is of course possible at lower settings. Watch Dogs Legion has a fairly big gap between max settings and just one level below. Max settings in most games usually only offer slight visual improvements, so personally I'd take the 43% higher average FPS at very high settings compared to Ultra. Fortnite was running great as it's an esports title. High settings was reaching average FPS above the screen's refresh rate, while medium settings could boost even the 1% low to near that, though you could of course enable DLSS in this game for a further boost. CSGO was also doing well here, but lower compared to laptops with similar hardware inside that have a MUX Switch, because being able to disable Optimus generally gives big gains in this one and other games that hit very high frame rates. More frames just seems to bottleneck the iGPU harder, so that matters more in games like this. Rainbow Six Siege was also hitting very high frame rates without issue. Even the 1% lows at max settings are higher than the screen's refresh rate. For some reason they dipped at medium settings, which is something I've seen on many laptops now, so it must just be some issue with this game on medium. Red Dead Redemption 2 was compared earlier, and the high settings I compared with look like a good sweet spot. Still above 60 FPS and not as big of a dip compared to ultra settings, while also not getting too much of an extra boost at lower levels. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was almost at 100 FPS at max settings, and similar deal for Battlefield 5. Still easily playable on this hardware at max settings, though these are essentially older gen games now. Going back even further, and The Witcher 3 was still above 100 FPS maxed out too, but like many other games, we can get a large boost by lowering just one setting preset while still looking good. As for everything else like thermals, battery life and more, I'll cover absolutely everything else in the upcoming full review of the Victus 16, so make sure you're subscribed for that upcoming content, as well as for future gaming benchmark videos like this one. Come and join me in Discord and get behind the scenes videos by supporting the channel on Patreon, and check out how well the RTX 3060 compares against other laptop GPUs over here. Maybe you don't need to spend RTX 3060 money and a cheaper option is for you.